Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Health Matters with yours truly, Danielle Lenane.
And your co-host, Dr. Ryan Breshears. Danielle, who are we talking with today?
Today we're going to continue our series on behavioral health specific to COVID-19, and we're bringing in my good friend Kayla Perry. She's going to talk about healthy eating in times of stress. Curious to learn what that is? Grab your pens and listen in. Hey guys, welcome to another episode. We are partnering with Dr. Ryan Breshears. Hello, Doc.
Hey, how are you?
Good, doing good. So I've also been here for 10 years.
Okay.
Fun facts. I like to share fun facts. And I was actually born at Kennestone.
I was too.
Were you really?
I was. What?
How about that? Did you grow up around here?
I did.
Okay.
I did. I grew up in Marietta.
Okay.
And this is my homeland.
Yeah, me too.
So there's not too many of us around anymore. So
this is not my homeland. Sorry.
This is not your homeland.
I lived in Vermont. For any of those Northerners out there.
So since Kayla has spoken, this is Kayla Perry. This is one of our registered dietitians here with Health Place. Also, it's our main wellness center, our flagship wellness center for Wellstar Health System. So Kayla, give them a little bit of your background. I know you're famous in all of our videos. And
no. I have done some fun virtual dietitian videos on our Wellstar YouTube page.
Mm-hmm. You've done some specific to COVID-19 as well.
Yes, more to come. Keep an eye on that at a Health Place Facebook page.
Yep, correct.
So I originally came from Vermont, but I am now a Georgia girl, and I did all of my schooling here. I went to Life University, did my bachelor's and master's there, and I did my internship through Life University, and one of my last rotations was here at Wellstar, and ended up getting a job here. So I'm very happy to be here. Always been at Wellstar, and I just love being here.
I got to say, I was watching which video, the one that was posted on Monday. Which one was it that we did?
I
can't remember the name of it.
The fun food activities.
Fun food activities.
Yeah.
I heard a slight Southern twang, and I was really proud. I'm not going to lie.
It's been inoculated. Yeah.
All my friends in Vermont are just like, you don't sound like that. And I'm like, it comes out sometimes.
It was glorious. I was very proud. Never been more proud of you, Kayla.
You know what happens.
Oh, man. So, Dr. Breshears, I would love for you to give you guys another background. Dr. Breshears suggested all of the themes for all 6 of these podcasts that we're doing, and I thought they were just fantastic, wonderful, great ideas. So could you introduce our topic today and maybe talk about, from your perspective, why you believe it's so important?
Absolutely. So we're talking today with Kayla about healthy eating in times of stress. And, I guess kind of stepping back, when we talk about behavioral health, I think sometimes we think about that or talk about it as though it's a proxy or a substitute for mental health.
Yeah.
And mental health is certainly a part of that,
right.
But behavioral health, I think, is more explanatory when we think about all of the human behaviors we engage in that contribute to our emotional health. Mm-hmm. So really, I want to use that word with intention.
Yeah.
Whether we're talking about exercise, whether we're talking about sleep habits, or in this case, nutrition and our dietary intake, all of that is really subsumed under that umbrella.
Yeah.
And I don't, I think it's important that we engage in healthy behavioral health activities consistently, but during times of stress, it's even more imperative. And that was really the spirit of why we're all here today, is to have more conversation around what can we do to prioritize this, ensure that we're doing everything we can to take care of ourselves, and in addition to equip ourselves to be able to take care of others, which is
what we do
here
at Wellstar, right? That's what we do.
Yeah.
So that was great. So can you talk a little bit about how food affects the mind, and not just but the mood? Give us a little, why is it so important? Why can't we just, I'm saying this because it's right down the road, guys, but Zaxby's. Like, let's just go to the drive-thru at Zaxby's. Why would that not be a good choice right now?
Yeah. Well, I've gotten some feedback in the past that it's not been. So there's a social reason why maybe it's not great. but I think, really this is bi-directional, right?
Yeah.
Like what we take in, absolutely has an impact on, the level of energy that we have, throughout the course of the day, the sustainability of our energy levels, and we can't really look at energy, right, independent or fatigue independent of our emotional functioning. I'm not at my best when physically I don't feel good. So,
right.
So really trying to look at this through a holistic lens. And then on the flip side, when I say bi-directional, also recognizing that relationship between how I feel and the food choices I might make in response to that, which may not be the best trajectory. So I think that that's really why I think this is such an important topic, and to learn more from Kayla and talk with her about what do we need to do to function at our optimal level.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, Kayla, why don't you talk to us a little bit about, so Kayla's got some really great points, just a few little tips and tricks for us. They're easy, they're simple, but they're so very important. So Kayla, why don't you talk about your first one that you've got written down here?
Yeah, so I think, first things first, a lot of us feel like, myself included, that our schedule is just gone. Mm-hmm. Some of us are just sitting at home, or our work schedules are completely different, or working at home or not working at all. And, maybe the kids are at home, so our schedule is completely different. And I think that can cause a lot of stress, and just feeling like everything is out of control.
Trying to find that new normal. We were talking about this before we started recording, Dr. Breshears and I were, so yeah. Yeah,
and so I think that sticking to an eating schedule can be one of those things that can really ground you, ground your whole day. You could focus your whole day around your eating schedule if you wanted to. I really call it meal timing. I like people to try and eat every 3 to 4 hours. Every 3 to 4 hours can keep your blood sugar level, even if you're not diabetic, it's still important to keep your blood sugar stable. That can help you to just feel okay. As we were talking about energy levels, your blood sugar, if it crashes, if you haven't eaten in a while, you can feel irritable and just not feel good. And then your blood sugar, if it's really high, if you've just eaten a bunch of cookies, again, you're just not going to feel good. You may feel good when you're eating them for that one moment, but then afterwards you're going to be like, wow, I feel strange, and so it's always important to kind of tune into those feelings too. When my patients come in and they're like, I've noticed that when I eat donuts now or something, they've been eating really healthy. And they're like, when I eat donuts, now I notice that I really feel different. They're like, it feels different than when I eat healthier. I don't feel as good. So it's really good to tune in and notice those things, because then it can help you to make those healthier choices. So yeah, follow your meal timing every 3 to 4 hours, which is for most people about 3 meals and 2 snacks. And keeping that structure can really help.
So we're not talking 5 meals.
No, yeah. People that are always like 5 small meals ends up being like 5 actual meals. So I think it is important to determine, what's a meal, what's a snack. There are some videos on our YouTube page about healthy snacks.
Right.
So they could check
Can you give us just like a quick example?
Yeah. So a good snack. It's also important when you're eating your snacks to help yourself stay full. When we are hungry, we are weak. That's when we usually emotionally eat. So filling snacks or snacks that have protein and fiber. So a very simple example is apple and peanut butter.
My favorite.
Right? Apple and peanut butter. I have that today for a snack. Right? Your apple has your fiber. Your peanut butter has some protein. So that's that really well-balanced, filling snack.
A little bit of carbs in there. Healthy carbs.
A little bit of healthy carbs.
Brain needs carbs, guys.
Absolutely.
Brain needs carbs.
I mean, you bring up a good point, too, when you're talking about blood sugar. If you're constantly trying to avoid all the carbs and your blood sugar is low all the time, you could feel really sluggish. Your mood will be affected. And people be like, I wonder why I'm so irritable. Well, you do need some carbs. Your brain likes carbs.
Yep.
Oh, man. So what about staying busy? One of my favorite sayings is, I don't know what to do with my hands. Well,
yes.
How do I keep them busy? What do I do with them?
Yeah. So staying busy, I think, is really important, because a lot of people go to the boredom eating. Not necessarily emotional eating, but they are just literally bored. And eating is that instant gratification. It's quick. It's easy. Just grab whatever's there. So it's really important to stay busy with things that they could be food related. If you want them to be food related, maybe make them take up a lot of time. Like baking takes a lot of time, but you could do healthier baking, right? You could do like whole wheat stuff, or you could explore some new healthy recipes on Pinterest. Now this is a great time to learn how to meal prep too. You could practice meal prepping, see what that's going to look like. So then when we go back into normal schedules, now you can have this new skill, which is great. Or maybe there's this amazing recipe that you've always wanted to try, but it looked really hard and it looked like it'd take a lot of time. Maybe do that. You've got time. So you could experiment with new fun recipes. And I find that as people do a lot of cooking, towards the end of it, they're not super hungry anyways, because you've spent a lot of time with your food. It's almost like building that healthy relationship with your food.
Which you're a big fan of.
Yes, a big, big fan. But you could also do non-food related activities when it comes to staying busy. So, of course, exercise is wonderful.
Right.
And I think some people think that we can't go outside right now, but we most certainly can go outside. We're just trying to not gather in large groups, right? So you can still go outside. You can still exercise. I know we're putting a lot of workouts on our Facebook page too. So exercising is a great way to stay busy. Maybe you write or read or pick up a craft. But I always tell my patients that struggle with boredom eating, it has to be something that engages you. Because if it like really engages you, because people are like, I read, but I kind of snack too. And I'm like, maybe that's not the best activity to distract you then. You know,
if you're going to do, like, for example, if you're going to read, you want to look up and 3 hours have gone by.
Exactly.
You want to be lost in that. You
Something
don't wanna...
that pulls you in.
Gotcha.
Because that's one of the best ways to avoid that boredom eating. I really like hot tea too, to be honest. Because you're just sipping on something. It feels like you're doing something. It feels like you're eating something. But it's just a hot drink, and it could be relaxing. It could be a calming tea, some sort of calming herb.
Give us a couple examples.
Calming
just so
herbs.
Go by.
Let's see. Chamomile, lavender.
Yep.
I really like Tulsi tea.
What's Tulsi tea?
Tulsi tea. It is a lot of Tulsi teas. They have this herb called holy basil, which some people think brings them stress relief.
Okay.
I think it works quite well for me. So that could be something you could try. And you might have to find it at like a health store though.
Okay.
Like a Whole Foods or a Sprouts or something. You could probably order it online too.
Okay.
But yeah, I love teas because it's kind of, I hate to relate it to alcohol, but it's sort of that same thing where like you're sitting down and you want some sort of relaxing beverage to just sit and be with. That's kind of what I consider tea to be, except it's not alcohol, which is nice. So it's a little bit better for you.
And should we be coping with alcohol at this time?
No.
Since we're talking about
No. That would, and it's interesting that you bring that up because a lot of people seem to think that what they drink doesn't count, right? Well, what you drink does count. I mean, especially if it does have calories or with alcohol, your body does stress when it processes that. It processes it sort of like a toxin. And so it can also, take up a lot of your B vitamins and take place of your nutrition. And I feel like there are, you can speak on this too. Sure. Like there are a lot better coping mechanisms than alcohol.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest considerations right now, just the season we're in, is that you may have an underlying vulnerability to alcohol abuse that throughout your life up to this point has really never been exposed.
Yeah.
And given the magnitude of stress that a lot of people are under, whether it's recognized as stress or whether you just refer to it as change, it could expose that vulnerability during a time like this. So I think it's particularly important to be mindful about what we're consuming and the quantity.
You bring up a good point too. Like, some of my patients struggle with binge eating, and even if they've been doing really well, those stressful times can kind of bring that back up.
Yeah.
It's like once you've done it, it's kind of always in the back of your mind lurking. And so you kind of have to just know that that's there and to put everything in place that you can to avoid those things.
Really being mindful.
Very mindful. Yes.
Mindful of not only what you're eating, but how are you dealing with stress.
Right.
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 So don't reach for the alcohol, the caffeine, the sodas even. Because all of those things can affect your sleep too.
Yep.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I have a friend who, they drink a lot of sugary drinks and in their mind, they're not eating. And of course, when you're drinking, your brain doesn't process it the same way that when you're chewing, you don't feel as full. And so they're like, oh, well, it's better than eating a bunch of bad food. And I'm like, well, not really.
Yeah.
You know, because your brain doesn't process it the same way, you can end up getting in a lot more sugar, a lot more calories. So that's, you know, a big red flag that you want to try and watch out for.
Okay. All right. So since we were talking about mindfulness,
I
see you've got that as another point you want to talk about.
Yes.
So what is mindful eating?
So mindful eating, I think mindfulness in general is sort of an abstract concept, but it helps a lot of people who do have addictive behaviors, and it's about trying to just tune in to yourself, right? Tune into how you feel, tune into your hunger cues, I think is really important too, because a lot of people, when they emotionally eat, they think that they're hungry, but it's really more of an emotional hunger than a physical hunger. So
how would you know the difference? How would you be able to differentiate between those two?
Yeah, I think you've got to tune in, you know, sit there and think and, you know, listen to your stomach,
Just
basically.
Pointing at her stomach.
Right? Listen to it, feel it. You know, do you feel like hunger pains? Has it been a while since you just ate? If it was only 2 hours, those probably aren't hunger pains, right? But if it's been like 5 or 6 hours since you've eaten, those very well may be hunger pains.
Right.
And also thinking, you know, I think a lot of it is the pause with emotional eating, the learning to pause and assess yourself, you know, and be like, am I doing this out of emotion? Am I doing this out of boredom? Or am I actually hungry? You can also ask yourself, you know, would I eat an apple right now?
Why? What am I hungry for?
Would I eat an apple right now? Because when we're emotionally craving things, we don't usually want apples. I mean, maybe if
I want pizza.
Maybe if they're
when
baked
I'm
with
emotionally
cinnamon.
craving things, I know that about myself. I want pizza.
And you know, you put an interesting point there too, is that we know our weaknesses. Like for me, it's probably like a hot chocolate chip cookie or something. And it almost doesn't matter what's going on. If someone's like, "Ooh, here's a cookie," I'm like, "Sure, I'll have a cookie." Right? And so we all have our things. We all have our, so I think it's important to know where those weaknesses are. Still give yourself treats. I think it's really important to never completely deprive yourself of something, because once something is, you know, a forbidden, that's all we think about.
I always make this. It's like telling a 4 or 5 year old not to push a red button.
Yeah.
What are they going to want to do?
They're going
to want to push that button. Doc, what's your weakness?
Oh my goodness.
I know.
Where do I start?
We said ours.
You know what?
We
Actually,
admitted it.
So food generally is not where I go to. And I think that's, but that doesn't mean that this isn't relevant, because
Absolutely.
where I go is the opposite direction, which is when I'm under stress, I skip meals and I forego food.
Okay.
Yep.
And I can justify it, you know, like I missed lunch because I was back to back, and it goes back to the very first point you made around the intentionality of having structure built in, and not giving yourself permission to do that.
Right.
You know, would I give myself permission to miss a night of sleep? I've done that before too. Don't get me wrong, but that's not something that I would openly be proud of.
Right.
And so this is, I think to me, you're hitting on really these core elements. You mentioned emotional eating earlier, and I remember one of the concepts I learned when I was out in Denver working with my mentor, Dr. Ralph Wexler. And he talked about how at any moment we're functioning in one of three roles. We're either an actor, an observer, or a critic. When you're observing and you become a more attuned observer, you start to make those differentiations. Is this emotional hunger? Is this a physical hunger telling me something? And if we're always functioning in that actor mode, the time that we have proportionate to just being mindful about what we're doing, it can become problematic. And so he talked about how then, you know, when you're disproportionately an actor, disproportionately not an observer, then what you naturally do is criticize.
Yeah.
You become a self-critic.
Yeah.
Because you perpetually act without that observational mindfulness, which then leads to really self-degradation. I feel bad about myself because of what I'm doing.
I mean, the guilt is really big, and a lot of people that are mostly trying to lose weight. But I feel like since we do live in, more of the obese epidemic kind of culture, we're like, oh, it's okay to skip lunch. But it's like, is it? And because you need nutrients too, right? We focus so much, I think, in our culture about don't do this, don't do that, don't eat as much, make sure you don't do this.
Right.
But there's not enough of this is what you need to do. This is what you should do. This is what your body needs to feel good. There's a lot of nutrients that you need for your metabolism to just function properly, right? And our metabolism does so many things in our body. It's not just burning calories. It's so much more complicated than that,
Yes,
and they've linked a lot of nutrients like, vitamin D to depression, magnesium to stress and things like that. So everything's important, right?
What are you brought up vitamin D and magnesium. I've been listening to other podcasts that are all about these. So what are some nutrients and maybe even some phytonutrients that we can get that will help kind of boost that brain function? I think it's a BNF is what it's called, correct? Brain, come on, Doc, help me. I could be totally wrong.
I was going with you, though.
I heard it this morning.
I get what you're saying, though, is that, it's not just calories. I think a lot of times people think it's just calories or it's just carbs, protein, and fat, right? It's not just macronutrients. It's those vitamins and minerals too that do a lot of things in our body, right? B vitamins are essential to our nervous system, among many other things. But, so your B12, making sure you eat enough protein sources that have B12. Vegans and vegetarians might not be getting enough of that.
Can you give us a couple examples?
Yeah, so get mostly from your animal proteins, eggs, meat, fish. They may need to take a supplement. They can take like an algae supplement or something to get B12, but it mostly comes from your animal products.
Okay.
And then vitamin D, I think, is hugely important right now because a lot of people, I feel like, don't understand that they can go outside and you get a lot of that from the sun, right? And they have linked vitamin D many, many times to things like seasonal depression, weight problems, your immune system, which is really important right now. So you got to make sure you can get it some in food like fatty fish and mushrooms and milk and things like that. But mostly you just got to go outside and get some sun exposure. Magnesium, again, it helps to your body to release muscle tension. So a lot of stress is us feeling tight, cramped, headaches, things like that.
Right.
So magnesium can be really helpful. You get a lot of magnesium from like nuts, seeds, beans, a lot of vegetables like dark leafy greens have a lot of magnesium. So really, if you're just eating a well-rounded, mostly plant-based diet, you should be getting a lot of these things. But, going back to your point of missing a meal, right? It's not just calories,
right?
You could not be getting enough nutrients because you're not eating enough. And that can be affecting the way you feel. Also, just remembering our carb conversation too. We live in such a low carb, no carb crazy world right now, that can give people what they call it, like, when people do keto, sometimes they get like angry, and they're
keto flu.
Yeah. And they're very irritable and they just don't feel good, because our bodies are meant to process carbs. That's the first pathway that they want to take. They can use fat for energy,
but it takes 2 to 3 minutes to get there.
But our bodies prefer to use carbs. Our bodies are really, really efficient at that. And so you are going to feel better if you not eat a lot of carbs, right? No, you don't need to do that. But just eat a consistent amount. Eat some healthy carbs, fruit, beans, whole grains. It doesn't have to be white bread and white rice and candy and things like that.
So you don't have to be a vegan marathon runner to be healthy.
No. Who is that? Who is that person? I want to know them.
Oh, gosh. So all in all, just to kind of sum up what we've talked about here, Kayla's big points are stick to a schedule. Right?
Yes.
Stay busy, keep your mind busy and keep your body busy, whether it be, reading, drinking tea. I really like that. I actually took my tea habits from you. You've given me that. So thank you.
I'm like always with a mug.
Always. That she is always with a mug. But exercising, reading, writing, learning something new. There's all kinds of free online courses right now. I'm actually taking one myself. A lot of businesses have pulled their services online. So looking at some of those resources, check out our people care wellness toolkit that today's April 1st. We're pushing it on April 2nd. So you guys will have it by the time this goes out.
It's awesome.
But we have a lot of resources in there to help you around that. Practice that mindful eating.
Yes.
Is what Kayla was talking about as well.
The tune in.
Tune in.
Right.
Taste your food.
Yeah.
They used to have to tell me that when I worked in the operating room.
Mm-hmm.
And
because we only got 30-minute breaks.
Yeah.
And by the time you scrub out of surgery, get to the sink, scrub your hands, make it to the break room,
so
if
short.
you brought your lunch. If you didn't bring your lunch, and
you don't eat. No.
You don't. Well, no. Then you go downstairs, and then it takes forever. So I would literally be in a state where I'm hoovering my food, and they were like, "Danielle, did you taste it?" And I'm like, "It doesn't matter. I have to go back." So learning to slow down is huge.
Yeah, and there's so many people where I've challenged them to really slowly eat what they crave. Slowly eat a small bit of it. Smell it, feel it in your hands, taste it. Really let it sit in your mouth and see, one, if you still really like it. Two, if you really wanted it. Because as you eat slower and you tune in like that, I do this a lot with like some certain types of chocolates. And people are like,
it's very sweet.
Oh yeah, they'll either be like, it's really sweet, or I didn't like that as much as I thought I did,
right.
Or I didn't even really want it, and for some reason I was eating it. So it's a really good practice to do that slow down, for sure.
It's very true. And then being kind to yourself.
Yes, please.
I think everybody needs to be kind to themselves outside of food right now. Everything's changing on a daily basis. Everything. I mean, the news changes every day. Here within Wellstar, we get new policies because we're having to evolve as this virus evolves. So just be kind to yourself. Allow yourself. I love what you said here. Treats, not cheats.
Yes.
Right?
Well, so many of my patients, they're like, "Oh, that was just my cheat meal," and I, to be honest, I used to say it that way too. But as I started thinking about it, cheat sounds really negative. Like it's something you're not supposed to have. And it's again, that like forbidden kind of thing. But treat is like, maybe I'll treat myself. I tell people when it comes to the foods that you really, really love, eat them with intention and not with guilt. Be like, you know what? I'm going to eat this cookie and I'm going to like it and it's going to be great and we're going to have a good day. Not, oh my God, I hate myself. I'm going to eat pizza and I am just going to skip breakfast. Because when you feel that way, then you spiral out of control. So it's really important to treat yourself and continue to treat yourself and never put anything off limits. But also, I've had people posting lately about, they're worried they're going to gain weight because they aren't exercising as much. And I'm like, just focus on maintaining, focus on being kind to yourself. You don't need to expect the world of yourself right now. We're all in complete mayhem right now.
Right.
Just focus on being kind to yourself and doing the best that you can. Because that's all we can really expect. And people are like, oh, I was supposed to be losing weight and they're stressing out about it. That's the last thing that we need right now. So yeah, be kind to yourself, please.
I couldn't agree with you more. Yeah. And I'm going to take away from some of those things that we've talked about today. Kayla, thank you so much for coming on with us.
Welcome.
This was great. A lot of awesome, helpful hints. Guys, if you're looking for recipes, we're going to be posting recipes daily onto the Employee Wellness Yammer page. We're also going to be posting actual live streams of Kayla and Kelly cooking home recipes in their kitchens onto the Wellstar Health Place Facebook page. So you guys are more than welcome to look at them there. But biggest thing is stay healthy.
Yes.
Stay safe. And we will see you next time.
Yes. Thank you.